If you're anything like me, you don't know how to do things. This experience might be familiar to you. Your wife left you. Your dog left you. Your life savings are down the toilet and now you're alone trying to get work done. But it just isn't working. It turns out stress can be pretty bad for you, both mentally and in your workflow. It's actually been proven through research that, for example, students with higher stress experience harder times studying. We can't be having that! You might be thinking to yourself, I don't want to have stress for my whole life! How can I fix this? Well, aren't you lucky? Because I've got a new experience just for you. A psychology video. And this will be a new experience for me too, given that I've never done a video like this before. Without further ado, let's begin! Let's start out with an obvious one. What are you even doing? Oh, I was just,
Excellent.
It looks like you're already following my first recommendation. Set a goal! Research has repeatedly shown that setting specific goals leads to higher performance in over 90% of cases. Not only specific goals, though, your goal needs to be challenging, too. A good way to create this challenge is to set a time frame for yourself. Take this guy, for example. He's writing a stock modern romance novel in 2023 like an absolute hey. But he doesn't have a reasonable time frame. How many words have you written? Like 5? And how long have you been writing? 10 days. Like any aspiring novel. That's no good! Why not try writing 200 words in the next 15 minutes? Wow! It really works! Hello? Are you there? Wait, is this thing pre-recorded?
Excellent.
Now, just be sure not to become obsessed with your goal. Too much obsession may be a symptom of study difficulty, alongside stress, anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, and disorganization. So be sure to check on yourself every once in a while, or you'll end up like this. So you've hid the evidence. But why did you do it? Why did I do it? Sounds like somebody didn't think this through. Don't worry, there's still time to find motivation before the police arrive. Wait, the police? It turns out you can summarize the way the brain works using a simple formula. Performance equals drive plus habit. That means motivation is half of the key to getting stuff done. Motivation comes in two flavors, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from the heart, like blood. That means you really want to do what you want to do. Extrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from the tart, like tarts. That is to say, there's some need that's being met beyond your personal satisfaction. Now, I don't know about you, but I love me some blood. I mean, intrinsic motivation is typically a better thing to have than extrinsic motivation when it comes to how your brain works. Yeah! However, both types of motivation are still very nice things to have. When in doubt, a deadline is more than enough to get your brain pumping motivation through your veins. However, it's not the best. A study found that a significant percentage of college students drop out due to debt-related loss of motivation. Basically, debt causes people to lose out on a ton of extrinsic motivation sources because they can't buy any of them. I mean, just look at me. I haven't had a genuine break in over 5 weeks, and I'm starting to get tired. Because I get no breaks, my extrinsic motivation is basically non-existent, which leads to me feeling like this is gonna collapse into stress. Great! You've made a specific, challenging goal and found the motivation to pull it off. Good news, too. Our friend over here already figured out the third recommendation. Be consistent! What? Owning a private graveyard isn't a good idea, you know? Shit! Remember that equation? Performance equals drive plus habit. Well, consistent habits are the other half of getting stuff done. A study discovered a correlation in students between consistent study habits and good self-control. While it is unclear which causes which, It is clear that both are a good thing, so it couldn't hurt to be a little more consistent with when and how you work. But it's not just students. Another study found that grocery store employees were more efficient in the checkout lane when their schedules were consistent. That'll be $39.99. Set a goal. Find motivation. Be consistent. Using these 3 recommendations, you'll be feeling spry and life and other words I cannot think of. But don't just take my word for it. Take my word for it. I spent the last month of my life checking in on how I felt over the course of time, using these recommendations. For the first 2 weeks, I worked like how I normally do, which is basically not well at all. For the second 2 weeks, I used these recommendations, specifically stating my goal and motive for each day, and being consistent in which hours and setting I worked in, as well as what distractions I minimized. And the difference isn't that large, but it's still something to consider. Overall, I recorded feeling 9% better throughout the work I did, and doing 6% more work than before, which is still something. One special note I did find was that my emotional and workflow states were more consistent between days I was more consistent. So, even though the numbers don't have a large difference on average, they clearly matter in the fluctuation of my mind. So yeah, it really does work! But don't just take my word for it! What are you still doing here? Video's over? Yep. Jail. Do. It's not so bad here, you know. It's quiet, at least. I probably shouldn't have killed all those people. Probably.